Hey kids! Okay, so we're still in Module 2, getting near the end and working with division. And now we're working with it in kind of a new way. We're still using the standard algorithm, so the objective is still about the same. But the most important part of Lesson 27 is to reason about the size of your quotient in comparison to your divisor and dividend. So that means like taking the whole apart into how many pieces and then how big will each of these pieces be. So there are a few problems in the teacher's edition that hopefully your teachers will go over with you before you jump into the lesson. If you don't get to do that, these are the problems, and they're all written out. So we have a 77-kilometer relay race, and we have 22 team members running an equal distance. How many kilometers will each person run? So you take the distance and divide it by the 22 people. Now, that's a greater distance than there are people, so I would expect it to be more than one whole. In fact, it's about 3 times as much, so the answer makes sense. But in the next one, we have a question about a vial, and then sometimes people don't know what a vial is, so I just drew a little, like a test tube type thing. Contains 14 7/10 milliliters of serum, and again, a word you might not know, that could be medicine, that is then split evenly or equally into 21 tiny containers. And so now we have 14 being split into 21 groups. And so that is going to be more groups than we have of this. That means our answer is going to be less than one whole. So this answer, again, makes sense, but you have to think about that today. And finally, this one, you could tell I ran out of space and didn't care, just turned it sideways. We'll make it work. The question of this one is surface area of a rectangular piece of construction paper. The total size area is 140 and 25 hundredths inches squared. Then they give you the length, and remember that area equals length times width, so we always use the formula. And then you would divide, and I'll just turn this sideways so you can see it better, the 140 and 25 hundredths by 17 in order to get your 8 and 25 hundredths for your width, and then we label that here. So these are just a few practice problems to really start working on Lesson 27 and thinking about it before we jump into the book. Now, I'm going to try to blaze through as many as I can. If it's been too many minutes, then I may hop into the word problems because I really want you to get the word problems today. So let's start. Now, each of these sections, you really kind of need to block off some space because there's a lot of work that goes into these and we have to cram it into a little bit of space. So good luck to you. 16 is our divisor and 5 6/10 is our dividend. First thing we're going to do, remember, this is the whole that is being shared and it goes inside the bracket. It doesn't matter what size it is, the whole comes first. The whole goes inside the bracket, then you start dividing. Now, 5 is not divisible by 16, so hold that spot with a 0. And always on the left of the 0, left of the decimal, put a 0 to hold that ones place. Okay? Then 56 is divisible by 16 how many times? Well, if I had 20, 20, 40, 60, I might guess 3. If I guess 3 and I know I have less than 20, I can still get to 60 with 3 of them. So let's give that a try. 3 times 6 is 18. 3 times 1 is 3 plus 1 is 4. And that gets me pretty close. The difference between 48 and 58 would be 10, but it's 2 less than that, which means it's 8. So if I have 8 left over, in Lesson 27, we're going to use the annex as 0 and bring it down. We're going to annex so that we can try to get to an empty set or use up all the parts and have an exact quotient. So now that I have 80 as my dividend, I can divide 60 one more time, 16 one more time. And so if you take 16 and if I take 15 and I did 15, 30, 45, 60, 75, I'm going to guess about 5 for my 16, because if that only got me to 15, 5 times would be to 75, then 16 5 times will get me to 80. 8 times 5 times 6 is 30. So many things that I'm thinking about. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 3 is 8. Now we're here at our 0 remaining. We do have to check 2 steps for each problem. Excuse me. Now if you have your 0 and 35 hundredths on the top, you can do these in any order. Okay, you can even use the 0.35 without the 0 and put it on the bottom. That's fine. 6 times 5, 30. 18, 19, 20, 21. Okay, and then this is nothing, and you would just carry that down. Hold this place with a ghost 0. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 3 is 3. And then you don't have to put anything here. It's another ghost 0. It's unnecessary. 0, 6, 5. Now where does the decimal go? This is 1, 2 places to the right, or hundredths to the right, therefore hundredths to the right. Check and make sure. Oops, went too far. Check and make sure that you have 5.60, 5.60. If you get that, you move on. Okay, so that's what all this whole page is. It's just divide and check. This goes on the inside, this goes on the outside. 14 into 21. But I'm going to put a decimal right away, okay, because I can tell that this is not going to be exact. So how many times can I fit 14 into 21? Well, 1 time. And then 1 times 14, 14. And you should be noticing multiples of 7, and the difference between 14 and 21 is 7. Now annex a 0 and drop it down so that you have 70 divided by 14. And in the same way that we counted over here, if I used 15 and I get to 75, I can use that again, okay, as my estimated number and try it 5 times. 5 times 4, 20, and 5 times 1 is 5 plus 2 is 7. So now I'm starting to find my way around these bigger numbers, and I have nothing left over. So annex the 0, bring it down, do our division, and try for the 0 remainder. 1.5 times 14. Check it. 4 times 5, 20. 4 times 1 is 4 plus 2 is 6. 0. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 1 is 1. This is the ghost, just in case you're wondering. 11, 210, but it's not 210, it's 21 or 210 tenths. Check that, and it's good. That middle section gets really squished. But just do your best. 48 is our divisor and 24 is our dividend. Don't worry that it's smaller. This is what we're reasoning about today. What will be the size of my quotient? Now this is about half as big as this, so my quotient should be equal to a half, okay? And I'm just estimating in my head right now. So 24 is not divisible by 48. So I'm going to go to the next position, and I'm guessing about half. So 5 times 8 is 40. 5 times 4 is 20, plus 4 is 24. And lo and behold, I get exactly half for my answer. I'm going to put 48 on the top this time and put 0.5 on the bottom, so I only have to multiply with 1 digit. 5 times 8 is 40, and then 20 plus 4 is 24. Now I don't have to put 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, all the row of zeros. I can just place my decimal. Now I have tenths here, so I should have tenths here, and then I have a quick comparison. Now I'm going to come back to these if we have time at the end, or I will just show you guys the answer, but I really want to work on the word problem, so we'll come back to that later. Let's let that focus while it's being lame. Hello, thank you. And we'll get started. 30 and 48 hundredths kilogram of beef was placed into 24 packages. Okay, now again, all this beef, all was placed into 24 packages. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, they're spreading it out. That's a division problem. What is the weight of one package of beef? So we're going to take the 30 and 48 hundredths and divide by 24. Okay, so 30 divided by 24 is 1. I can fit a 24. And how many are left? 6. Continue by bringing down. So we did the quick compare, and sometimes I won't say compare, you just need to know. Look at it. If it's less, then we move on. Bring down. 64 divided by 24. And if I had about 25, I would say 50, that would be 2. So I just have a little less. 2 times 4 is 8, and 2 times 2 is 4. And the difference between 64 and 48, you can do the standard algorithm, or you can go up by tens. So if you do the standard algorithm here, 14 minus 8, 6, and 1. So the difference is 16. Bring down your 8 again, comparing to 24 real quick. Bring down the 8. Now, I have 168 this time, and if I was going to use 25, you could count by quarters. And so a good guess would get you somewhere around 150, okay, because you don't want to go over. If you go over, you get to 175, and then you can start thinking about, well, I do have less than 25, and how many less? Oh, look, I have 7 less. So what if I use 7? 7 times 4 is 28, and then 14, 15, 16. So that's just kind of a little thought process. Think about how the numbers relate so that you don't have to do as much erasing. So each package weighs 1 27 hundredths kilograms. And then always watch out to see if anything changes measurement in case you have to convert. All right, next one. What is the length of a rectangle? Oh, there go the lights again. That's like every day because it's just more fun that way. What is the length of a rectangle whose width is 17 inches? Okay, don't know the length, but I know the width, 17 inches. And whose area is 582 and 25 hundredths inches squared. Okay, so what is this? Now you know that area equals length times width. That's the formula. And if you do know that this is 582.25, and we don't know the length, so leave it as L, and you do know the width in linear units, so 17 inches, not inches squared like this one, then what we're going to do is we're going to do the opposite operation of multiplication, which is division. So we would divide this side by 17 and divide this side by 17. So 17 into 582.25, and someday I will do a video that shows you why you can do this. So let's start here. When we divide from the left, we're looking at, no, it's not divisible here in 5, but we're looking to go to 58, then 582, then 5822. It's each position from the left. So nothing goes here, but this is where my first digit in the quotient will start. So I'm going to have I'm going to have 4 digits, and you can put a 0 here if you want, but I don't like to do that. So if I had 20, I would say 20, 40, 60. I'm almost there. I can try the 3 because I'm very close. So 3 times 7 is 21, and then 3 times 1 is 3 plus 2 is 5. So see how close we are? We get 7 left over, and that's less than 17, so bring down your 2. Again, if I had 20, 40, 60, 80, I could try 4 because I'm really close, and I have 3 less. So that means I'm going to have a little wiggle room at the top. 4 times 7 is 28. Again, use the 2. 4, 5, 6. Close. And I have a little tiny 4 remainder. That's less, so bring down the 2. 42 divided by 17. And now we're in tenths, just in case you're wondering, but you don't need the decimal. If I had 20, I would say 2 of them. And then 2 times 7 is 14. This is a 1. 2 times 1 is 2, and then we'd have 34. And the difference between 34 and 42 is 8. And then bring down the 5, and that's a long way. And I'll have kids that'll do like the little signs. You can do that if it helps you organize your digits. And then we have 85 divided by 17. And if you kind of look at what you had before, 4 times 17 got us 68. And so if you kind of look at the difference between those two, you would say, well, I need a little bit more than that. In fact, I need 17 more. And so 5 times 7 is 35. Now we're using a 3. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 3 is 8. And that gets us to, oops, there you go, a 0. Okay, and so the length is 34 and 25 hundredths inches. And that's linear units. It's not squared because the only thing you square is area. Next one. All right, a soccer coach spent $162 on 24 pairs of socks for his players. I did that once for my volleyball team. Bought a whole bunch of socks for everybody. And yep, you do have to take the total and divide it by all the socks. How much did, 5 pairs of socks cost? Well, we need to find out the cost of 1 pair, and then we can figure out the cost of any number of pairs. So first, let's take our $162 and divide it by the 24 pairs, and we'll start with this. Put a decimal and see if we're going to need it. I anticipate we will. Now, 24 will not fit into 16, so we go to the 162. And again, if you use 25, it's a little bit easier to calculate because you know that 4 quarters are in $1, and then 2 more would give you $1.50, and so that gets us to about 6. I don't want to go too high. 6 times 4 is 24. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 2 is 14. We're close. Let's see how close we are. And then 12, 9, 8, and 18. So we're close, but we still are good. 18 is less, so bring down the 0. Now I have 180 divided by 24. Now I need more than 6 because 6 24s got me 144. And what if I added another 24 to this? Let's try 7. 7 times 4 is 28. Use the 2. 7 times 2 is 14, 15, 16. Subtract or find the difference between 180 and 168. And I know 170 would be 10, so 2 more, that's 12. Annex another 0. Keep going. Keep going. We want to get to 0. That's ideal. 120 divided by 24. And if you look and consider, well, if I had 6 of them and I got 144, then I'm going to go with 5. 5 times 4 is 20. Use the 2. 5 times 2 is 10 plus 2 is 12. Ta-da. Okay, now what does that mean? That's 1 pair. But what do I need? I need 5 pairs. So take the 675, and this is money, times 5. 5 times 5, 25. 5 times 7, 35 plus 2, 37. And then 5 times 6 is 30 plus 3 is 33. This is money. So tenths, hundredths, tenths, hundredths. Okay? And so we have $33.75 for 5 pairs. And that is your final answer. And the last one, that's the final answer for number 4. But we still have another problem, and we have to go back to the beginning. A craft club makes 95 identical paperweights to sell. Oh, this is a fun one. Okay, we got to make a tape diagram for this. They collect $230.85 total, nice, from selling all the paperweights. Now, we usually have a lesson about profit before I get into this question. If the profit the club collects on each paperweight is 2 times as much as the cost, okay, this is good that profit is twice the cost because you want to be able to keep your money. Twice as much as the cost to make each one. What does it cost the club to make each paperweight. Oh boy, so this is fun. So first of all, let's figure out what we can do with the numbers that we have, which is all the collection and how many there were. So let's take our $230.85 and we'll divide that by the 95 paperweights, okay? And if I have 95, it's almost 100. So I can guess 2, and again, it's not going to fit here, 0. It's not going to fit here, 23 is not divisible by 95. But I can divide 230 by 95, and I have plenty of room for 2. 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 9 is 18, plus 1 is 19. And subtract. You can find the difference, again, between 19 and 23, or you can do the standard algorithm. It's really up to you, but the difference is 4. So now I have 40, which is a big remainder, but that's okay, because I'm going to bring down the 8. This is still less. Now I have 408 divided by 95. And again, if I had 100, I would guess about 400. 4 times 5 is 20. Use a 2. 4 times 9 is 36, 37, 38. Now I have 408. So 8 minus 0, and then 38, the difference between 38 and 40 is 2. So 28 is the difference. Now I have my last digit that can come down, and I have 285 divided by 95. And I haven't gotten that before, but if I think about 100, and it's almost 3, then I would do 3 times 5, carry the 1, 3 times 9, 27, and 28. We get 0. Love the 0 at the end. So what is this again? Okay, if this is what they collected, okay, and this would be the money collected for each one. So the $2.43 is now what I'm going to take a look at with the tape diagram. Just to think about it, okay? There's profit and there's cost, okay? If the profit the club collects on each paperweight is 2 times as much as the cost, then I have cost, and I have profit, and I have profit. Okay, this is twice as much as this. You could put the profit down here if you wanted in a separate tape diagram. That's fine too. What you need to realize is that there are 3 pieces to each paperweight. Okay, so this is the 243. Okay, these 3 pieces represent the total cost, or the total amount involved in one paperweight. Okay, so as long as you understand that, that's a really critical part, because what I need to do is I need to divide that 243 into 3 pieces, 3 equal pieces, so that I can figure out, well, what is the cost, or what's the profit? I could figure out any part of it. So now I have another problem. 24 divided by 3, that's 8. 8 times 3 is 24. 0, at least they made this part easy for us. That's a very easy part. So what does this represent? This represents each piece. So each piece is then 81 cents. Now I can figure out what's the cost. Okay, the cost is going to be 81 cents, and the profit would be twice that, or $1.62. Okay, because you can add that, and this is going to be the profit, but the cost is 81 cents. Okay, so now you have all these different pieces, and that should answer your question pretty efficiently. There go the lights again. Okay, well, I can see it's been 24 minutes, so let's get you back to the front. And instead of spending a whole bunch of time doing each problem, I know you have things that you want to do, so I'm going to show you the answers. and then we'll just talk through them super fast. Sorry if it's too fast. You can always pause the video as needed. Okay, so here are the rest of the answers for this front page. When you divide 36 by 24, you can fit a whole one in there, but you have half left, and so then you continue your division. And then, of course, check with multiplication. This is the ghost 0. Sometimes I don't put them in there because it's a ghost. You don't need to. Just make sure you check that this matches, and it does. In fact, they all match because they're all done. All right, 81 divided by 54. Yes, I can fit one in there. Okay, do your multiplication, then subtraction, bring down, divide, multiply, subtract, get nothing, and check. Okay, 15 and 60 hundredths is divisible by 15 one whole time with nothing left over. But then this one, you bring down the 6. 6 is not divisible by 15, therefore put the 0 up in the quotient. Then bring down the 0 and divide the 60 by 15. That's where you get the 4. 4 times 15 is 60, and then you check that. Any other tricky ones on here? 5 and 40 hundredths. Okay, 5 and 4 tenths. Start your division. This is less than the divisor, so my answer will be less than 1, and it is. It's 0 and 36 hundredths. So 3, and then you work that out, and don't forget to place your decimal. 2 places up here, 2 places here. And this one, 16 divided by 52. Again, it's much less than 52, so my answer will be much less than 1. And then check with multiplication. There you go. And the last one is a tiny little 2 and 8 tenths divided by 16. So your answer is very, very tiny. 0 and 175 thousandths. So you have to annex 2 zeros and continue the division process to get that 0 for your final answer. Sorry it's so long. It's just a lot of stuff in these, and I hope it was helpful. If it's helpful, click subscribe, and I will see you on the next video. Bye.